Council of the Marble Star takes us back to the days of King Arthur when he ruled Camelot. Everyone knows he had the Knights of the Round Table to make sure that Camelot was safe and secure militarily. But what people do not know is he had another council, and they sat at a round table, and they were called the Council of the Marble Star. And in fact, the council was made up of representatives from 12 different villages. There were 12 villages in Camelot, and those representatives came and advised Arthur in two areas. How does Camelot become successful commercially? How can they continue to make money? And how does Camelot get run so that the magic of Camelot stays alive? Or how does Camelot continue to live its culture? So Arthur, the king, had the Council of the Marble Star there to advise him on the culture and the commercial sides of running that nation. So you can see in your organization, we want our leaders and our people to be strong both on the business side and the culture side, and this replicates that. To do that, the participants participate in an activity which we call the Test of Acceleron, which was actually created by Merlin for Arthur, but for the moment, the Test of Acceleron. So think of the experience as including 12 different teams, and a team could be anywhere from 2 to 5 people, and these 12 teams negotiate among themselves for about an hour. And they negotiate over things like this. And when the participants get them, they go, okay, these look like leather squares and triangles and kind of some colored gemstones and some information cards. And in fact, there's some money in here. And they wonder what this all means, as you probably are. And in fact, the information cards, which every team is given, allow them to determine the value of these artifacts which they start with. And as they uncover that value, they are able to trade to their advantage. Something which might be worth a lot to one team, for example, these red colored stones, may be worth very little to another team, but the blue is worth more to them, and so on. So each of the artifacts have value to one group and not to another. And as they trade, barter, sell, exchange information, the meaning of the artifacts come clear, and in their negotiating and trading and discussion, they are able to accumulate wealth for their village. And if they accumulate a lot of wealth, they are strong commercially. That's the first thing which they need to sit at the Council of the Marble Star. However, when the experience is over, each team is assessed by every other team. And they're assessed against what we call the Shumas. And the Shumas are value statements. Things like, I trust you, I feel that you care about my interests, and so on. There are 5 of these Shumas. And because each team is evaluated by the other teams, they get some feedback, not only in terms of their performance, but how they performed, the approach they took, the way in which they dealt with other people. And they have to not only be successful in terms of their commercial, financial dealings, but they also have to be able to demonstrate those 5 values over the course of the hour. And because they're getting feedback from other folks in the room, it's pretty exciting to see how well you do, and sometimes people think they didn't do too well, and in fact get quite good feedback, and other people are quite surprised because they go, I thought I was great in terms of my dealings with others, and the feedback is, you weren't quite so good, not quite so good as you thought. And so that provides some very rich fodder for the debrief, which then allows us to bring it back into the business context and say, okay, what can we learn from Council of the Marble Star that we can bring back into the job so that we can perform well, and we can perform well consistent with our culture, which will allow us to perform well for the long term. And that's Council of the Marble Star.